This new conflict does not use traditional warheads or torpedoes. It instead relies on pressure, precision, and patience.
This is not a battle for territory, but a strategic struggle for the arteries of the modern world.
These are the fiber optic cables that carry 99% of all global data that powers our lives.
They are the lifeblood of our economies, our governments, and crucially, our modern high-tech militaries.
Simultaneously, 400 kilometers above Earth, in the cold vacuum of low Earth orbit, a parallel conflict unfolds.
Here, satellites, the eyes and ears of all nations, are no longer just passive observers of Earth. These vital satellites have now become targets. They have also become hunters in this new shadow war.
They are stalked by new threats moving with uncanny speed, machines designed to disable, capture, or destroy.
This is the new battlefield, a vertical axis of conflict, stretching from the abyssal plane to orbit.
The powers that master this domain will not just win the next war, they will define global power.
The public understands warfare in two dimensions, land and sea, and perhaps a third, which is in the air.
But the true strategists operate in the shadows of monolithic defense budgets and classified research programs. They are now fighting a war of total spectrum dominance for the planet's entire data and surveillance infrastructure. The first shot will not be a missile launch, but a sudden, catastrophic, and total global silence. The concept began not as a grand strategy, but as a series of disparate, deeply alarming incidents.
In the intelligence community, they called it the pattern of anomalies, and it was deeply disturbing.
A transatlantic cable, far from any known seismic zone or shipping lane, suddenly just goes offline.
UUV.
A small, unidentified metallic fragment is found to be fused directly to the cable's protective shielding.
3 weeks later, a key military communications satellite in a polar orbit experiences a cascading systems failure.
Its last telemetry shows not a debris strike, but a brief, intense burst of focused microwave energy.
This happened moments after an unknown space object adjusted its orbit to match its velocity and position.
In isolation, these are merely technical failures. Connected, they are the opening moves in a coordinated campaign. This is a campaign of strategic infrastructure denial, and its implications are dire for all nations. The players are familiar, but their tools are revolutionary, changing the very nature of modern global warfare.
Russia, through its secretive main directorate of deep-sea research, or GUGI, operates specialized nuclear-powered submarines.
But intelligence now points to massive mothership submarines deploying swarms of smaller, AI-guided seabed loiterers.
These are not just reconnaissance drones. They are pre-positioned weapons, waiting for a signal to strike. They identify critical junctions in the global cable network, attaching parasitic devices or dormant explosive charges.
They are ready to be detonated on command, severing the nervous system of an entire continent.
This is not simple sabotage. This is strategic strangulation, and it is happening right now.
The deep sea, once a realm of exploration, has become a contested zone of gray warfare.
Actions are deniable, attribution is nearly impossible, and the strategic impact is asymmetric and catastrophic.
Get me Director Vance right now.
A simultaneous severing of primary cables would not just slow down the internet, it would freeze financial markets.
It would disconnect military command structures, plunging nations into an information black hole of unknown duration.
Get me comms!
It is the asymmetric equivalent of a nuclear first strike, achieved with a fraction of the cost.
This is the low ground of the vertical axis. But it is only half of the equation.
As this silent war unfolds in the deep, the high ground of space is becoming exponentially more lethal.
The second space age was meant to be commercial, a new democratization of orbit for all mankind.
Instead, it has triggered an arms race operating at hypersonic speeds, hidden from the public's view. The US Space Force, China's PLASF, and Russian aerospace forces are all developing a terrifying new arsenal. We are moving beyond the crude, kinetic kill anti-satellite missiles, the messy, debris-creating weapons of the past. The new tools are subtle, sophisticated, and terrifyingly effective, often disguised as debris removal or repair drones.
These co-orbital stalkers can maneuver alongside a target for months, quietly learning its many vulnerabilities.
Then they execute a soft kill, like a high-powered microwave blast, to fry its delicate internal electronics.
Or a robotic arm can physically rip off its solar arrays, or spray chemicals to blind its sensors.
There is no explosion, no obvious sign of aggression, just a strategic asset rendered totally inert.
But the true revolution is the weaponization of suborbital space, blurring the lines of conflict.
Hypersonic glide vehicles, or HGVs, can now scream through the upper atmosphere at over Mach 20.
They use the Earth's curvature to mask their approach, striking any target on Earth in under 30 minutes.
The next phase, already in advanced testing, is the orbital bombardment system, a terrifying modern concept.
Imagine a platform that can release a swarm of tungsten rods from God, using pure kinetic energy.
They strike a hardened bunker or carrier with the force of a small tactical nuke, but with zero fallout. Or, more insidiously, a platform that can deploy a constellation of microsatellites for temporary denial.
Creating a localized, high-intensity electronic warfare bubble over a conflict zone, blinding all GPS and communications.
This blinds all signals for the critical first hours of an invasion, guaranteeing a swift and total victory.
This is the synthesis of the high ground, the ability to see everything, target anything, from orbit.
The real strategic genius, however, lies in connecting these two domains, linking them into a single battle space.
A nation that achieves this vertical dominance can orchestrate a conflict in ways previously unimaginable to strategists.
Consider this scenario. T-minus 60 minutes. A geopolitical crisis escalates. The adversary initiates its plan.
In space, its co-orbital stalkers begin a synchronized soft kill campaign, targeting just the key nodes. They target missile early warning satellites, high-bandwidth ISR platforms, and the primary command and control relays.
The effect is not a total blackout, but a strategic cataract, a blurring of the tactical picture.
T-minus 50 minutes. As generals stare at unreliable screens, their space-based assets compromised, the second phase begins.
The deep-sea Loiterers, pre-positioned months in advance, receive their encrypted activation signals from above.
These signals are not sent via vulnerable cables, but by VLF broadcasts or a quantum communication link.
Beamed from a high-altitude platform through the Earth's crust to the waiting drones. The signal is instantaneous.
T-minus 49 minutes. On the seafloor, the drones activate. They don't just cut cables. They execute a network decapitation strike. Primary, secondary, and tertiary dark fiber redundancy routes are cut.
The severing is surgically designed to isolate military alliances, bifurcating NATO by cutting data transfer.
It severs the link between the US mainland and its carrier strike groups in the Indo-Pacific.
T-minus 30 minutes! The defending nation is now functionally deaf and blind. Its orbital eyes are closed.
Stock markets are in free fall. National leadership is cut off from its strategic forces, totally isolated.
It is in this precise window of induced paralysis,
that the conventional war begins. Hypersonic missiles, their launch undetected by the blinded orbital sensors, streak towards command centers.
Amphibious forces, their movements masked by the chaos, begin their landings. The war is already over.
This is not science fiction.
The People's Republic of China has pursued this system of systems warfare with a relentless, terrifying focus. Their multi-domain precision warfare explicitly links space, cyber, and the deep sea into one weapon. Their experimental satellites and deep-sea exploration vehicles are two halves of the same weapon. The United States, realizing it is being outpaced, is scrambling to respond. The Space Force was first. But the real efforts are happening in the black, in secret DARPA projects seeking new, resilient architectures.
Vast constellations of thousands of small, cheap, replaceable satellites, making a soft-kill campaign logistically impossible.
In parallel, the U.S. Navy's Project Cetus is developing new, extra-large, unmanned undersea vehicles.
These are autonomous, nuclear-powered, continent-crossing motherships, capable of deploying their own sub-drones to hunt.
They can hunt hostile assets, repair friendly cables, and guard critical infrastructure. It is a race. This arms race is creating a new, terrifyingly fragile strategic balance, replacing the old doctrines.
The old doctrine of mutually assured destruction, MAD, was based on the idea that nuclear war was unwinnable.
The new doctrine is one of mutually assured disconnection. The fragility of our hyper-connected world is deterrent. But unlike nuclear weapons, the kill chain is opaque. When does a suspicious space object become war?
When does a mysterious cable cut escalate to a full military response? This ambiguity is the problem.
A nation can flex its vertical power, cutting a non-critical cable or buzzing a commercial satellite.
This creates a gray zone of conflict, more volatile and dangerous than anything in the Cold War.
The human element is unrecognizable. Operators are analysts, data scientists, and drone wranglers in secure facilities.
A space engagement is a battle of algorithms, where AI agents execute orbital maneuvers in microseconds.
A deep-sea operation is a multi-week mission planned on a quantum computer to optimize for currents.
The hero is the coder who writes the spoofing algorithm that tricks an enemy satellite.
Or the engineer who designs a biomimetic AUV that can hide by mimicking a sperm whale's sonar.
We are building a global infrastructure of unparalleled complexity, a delicate web of glass and silicon.
With every new satellite launched, with every new cable laid, we are making ourselves more vulnerable.
We have handed the keys to civilization to a system undone by a handful of surgical strikes.
The next global conflict will not begin with an invasion. It will begin with a loss of signal.
The moment the screens go blank and the data streams flatline, we will know the war has begun. The challenge now is not just building better satellites. It is a fundamental race for new resilience.
Can a nation survive a total information blackout?
Can it operate off the grid while its adversary waits?
The hunt is on for quantum-encrypted communication channels that cannot be tapped, and new navigation systems.
The future of warfare is a race between the spear, the ability to sever the vertical axis, and the shield. As we look up at the stars, we see points of light. The strategists see a chessboard. As we sail over the oceans, we see an empty expanse. They see a network of hidden vulnerabilities. The gap between the public perception of war and the reality of this new, invisible conflict grows. In that gap, silent hunters in the dark are fighting for total control of the vertical axis. The global order rests on a fragile assumption of connectivity. The masters of this domain break it.
The question is no longer if this warfare will be used, but when and who will weaponize the silence.